Hey, welcome back to the Ping Pong Flix Show. My name is Chris Wong. It's episode 515 of the Ping Pong Flix Show. There was an article that went out today in regards to Birds of Prey filmmaker Cathy Yan reflecting on box office and scene she fought for. The scene, we'll start with that. The scene she fought for, and you can read about it in this article, is that risky scene where, we see Ewan McGregor playing Black Mask, and he's telling this woman to take off her clothes, like strip off her clothes and stuff, and dance, I think. And so that scene was the scene she fought for. Apparently, they were trying to not have that, but she really fought for that. So it's great to see a director being able to fight for something that they really believe in and the studio actually keeping it in. Other things that are interesting within this article, and you can, I'll link this article in the description below, is things like how if they wanted her to connect it to Suicide Squad, and she said yes and no. So it's still like a non-answer, but she did reveal that they tried to keep a lot of Harley's look, especially a lot of the tattoos, but then they kind of dumbed it down and stuff like that. They took out Joker, but they placed them in there. They also added Jai Courtney's character in there as well. So there's things like that. And they go through different things about what's reshoots and scenes like that. Pretty much revealed that the reshoots or the fight reshoots were probably my favorite parts of the movie, which in the police station and even the chase at the end. So that was actually reshoots. And so they were having a lot of fun with that. The other one that was that I thought was kind of cool in this article was the fact that she was trying to stay ahead of the paparazzis. So they got a character shoot, and they made a sizzle reel out of it, and threw that out there before they actually went out and shot. And I thought, and I've always talked about this, how I thought that's ingenious, and every director should really do that, so that we don't get crappy shots of the costumes, and we get a shot and we get a reveal of the costumes, a reveal of the characters, officially in a way, before you actually see that. So I'm glad she did that. I'm glad Todd Phillips did the Joker reveal. I'm kind of glad that we saw Matt Reeves the Batman like that, although I'm not still not too keen on the Batman look, but it's getting better, especially the side profiles and stuff like that. And then it comes into the box office a little bit, right? And she talks about the box office. The interviewer is clearly on her side, and saying that why is the clickbait articles about what was that movie? There was that race car movie, and I'm gonna try to get to that article. Your film made 2.4 times its production budget, while a film like Ford versus Ferrari made 2.3 times its budget. However, because Ford versus Ferrari is an original studio film, its Monday morning headlines were a lot kinder than Birds of Prey, even though Birds made more money in its $33 million opening weekend and cost $16 million less. Birds is also a two-quadrant movie that's R-rated and very specific. It wasn't designed for mass appeal like Avengers. Were you frustrated by this double standard, since the entirety of the comic book movie genre is held to such high expectations? And so she reveals it right here. Yeah, I think that if you actually look at the details of the budget breakdown, I know that the studio had really high expectations for the movie, as we all did. There were also undue expectations on a female-led movie. And what I was most disappointed in was this idea that perhaps it proved that we weren't ready for this yet. This was an extra burden that, as a woman of color director, I already had on me anyway. So yes, I think there were certainly different ways you can interpret the success or lack of a success of the movie, and everyone has a right to do that. But I definitely do feel that everyone was pretty quick to jump on a certain angle. So, now we can go into different conversations about whether or not the political sense of this movie mattered or not. But I want to look into what people, I guess the studio, is interpreting this movie. She clearly says that they really had high expectations for this movie. She did as well, but early in the article she said that, well, she didn't know what to expect because she came off of an independent film that didn't have a wide distribution in the US, so didn't know what to expect, right? This is her pretty much her big first blockbuster type of movie. So what I want to get from this is exactly what I've been saying before. This movie by itself, if you take away the brand of DC, then it's fine. It's fine. And I think the headlines would have showed saying, oh, this is a success. It made 2.4 times its production budget. It's an incredible film, blah, blah, blah. And just like how Ford versus Ferrari, right? They would have said that. If it was just called Birds of Prey, didn't have any DC content in there, and it made the same amount of money and stuff like that. Of course, it might not have been made because it wasn't, wouldn't be a DC film. But because it's a DC film, and it's not a DC film that they never had any faith in order and grabbed two other companies to help invest into the property, right? That was Joker. That's what happened with Joker, okay? This one, they invested fully into this film because they had every feeling that it would be they had high expectations for the movie because it's a brand. The studio is thinking of this as a brand, right? Now, thankfully, they didn't think of it as a brand as much as in order to tell her she needs to do this and that and change this and that. We don't really know. In terms of that, but for the most part, it seems like she got full control of this thing, or at least Margot and her and Christina Hodson had full control over this thing. Okay, but there's the thing right there in that paragraph. I know that the studio had really high expectations for the movie. They did, and that's what everybody else in the media is looking and judging this movie. Yes, they don't judge DC too highly, really, unless it's like Wonder Woman and Aquaman, or Shazam, right? But for the most part, they're judging this as a comic book film in the DC brand. And if you look at, like I've shown you many times before, the DC brand, as a DC film, the numbers aren't there. As a film without that DC brand, just a film by itself, it looks successful. And that's the distinction there. That is the distinction. Cathy Yan knows full well this is a comic book film, but she made it her own. Within this article, she made it her own. It's not a normal comic book film. She understands that, and she plays along those lines, right? Unfortunately, maybe the people who wanted to go to see this or wanted to get that comic book film, and there's a fine line between certain directors who were able to accomplish that and not able to accomplish that, right? So I don't know. There's a lot of things that went wrong with this. The COVID-19 didn't help any, possibly because it may have done better in China if they had released a PG-12 version. I don't know. I have no idea. There's a lot of different things that could have helped this thing. But if you look through the lens of it being an independent film, an original studio film, then yes, of course. The budget's there. It made 2.4 times its production budget. As a standard film all by itself, yes, it's a successful film. As a DC film, it's not that successful. All right, well, let's get into what could possibly be very successful. Zack Snyder's Justice League, right? So my pick of the day, this is my pick Justice League fan poster of the day, posters actually, but there's one in here that I really like. Number 679, Julian Chan at Jazzy Jules 63. Instagram at Jazzy Jules. Go follow this person if you love this person's work. Maybe they have more, I don't know. But there's some posters here that are quite intriguing. And relatively simple, but I love this one. This caught my eye. I've seen something similar to this. I think it's Batman's face, and then it had all the people in there, but I like how it's Darkseid's kind of face there, and you see the Justice League members in there, but I think there is no Superman in there, which is fine. So it's like within that evil, right? They're with all the gods within, almost has that semblance. I mean, you can take it apart as well, but as a poster, it just looks pretty damn cool. And one of the great ones out of this Justice League fan poster. So, great job, good job, Julian Chan. Follow this person if you want to see more, or check out this post 679 if you want to get a copy of this or something. All right, so. Not all about Justice League, but there is a character in Justice League that was supposed to be the heart of the film, that we have supposed to see the origin of the film, and finally we were supposed to see his own solo film, and that was Cyborg. April 3rd, today, 2020, was supposed to be the day the Cyborg solo film was supposed to be released. Now, this little picture is from Will Rollins, by the way. And we never got to see it, Yeah, it wasn't his origin film, I don't think, because Zack Snyder's Justice League was supposed to be the origin for Cyborg, but it would have just added to the character. This would have been Aquaman for Jason Momoa. This would have been Wonder Woman for Gal Gadot. This would have been The Flash for, Ezra Miller's The Flash. This was supposed to be Cyborg. This was supposed to be Superman's Man of Steel, right? This is Cyborg's Man of Steel, essentially. Unfortunately, things have changed, and we never got to see this, and we're not sure if this is still out there on the slate, right? I think Ray Fisher, not even sure as well. So I could totally see him fighting for Zack Snyder's Justice League, because Zack Snyder's Justice League essentially is a Cyborg film. So today we kind of celebrated it. Soham made this incredible hashtag Borg Life. We love RF. Movies Buff made that tweet that I talked about last night about how we should get it trending, release a Snyder Cut with Borg Life trending, and how we love Ray Fisher at his Twitter account and get that trending. And for the most part, it did really good with the help of Zack Snyder himself. Okay, this is from Brandon Valenza. Zack Snyder posted on Vero a familiar picture, except with a different comment. This one says, half man, half machine, all heart. And we've seen this before. This is on top of the building where it's probably before his first flight, right? Cyborg has his own first flight. But we've seen this picture before, and Brandon decided to kind of just show us the two pictures. This is the picture that was released today by Zack Snyder. This is the picture that was released during November 17, or around that time. I think it was around that time where he was going into the Excalibur quotes, right? So this is Cyborg that he showed back then. I'm not quite sure why there's two versions of the same picture. One is a little bit brighter than the next one. I think this one is a little bit much more like what the movie is. I'm not sure why that is, but I thought it was in Brandon and I, just looking at what Brandon posts, and I thought it was an interesting thing to point out. If you've seen that picture before, but there's a little certain differences. I don't know if it's one's the frame after the next and he's just scrolling through, or really is a adjustment to the color, and I think there is, to the lighting of this picture. So I thought that I'd mention that. But in any case, it helped a little bit with the trend, and Movie Buff put out, and this was hours ago, by the way, so it may have changed. Hashtag Borg Life had tweeted and trended to 14.5 thousand tweets. Disregard the, it's COVID-19, so all the kids and everybody and vacuuming in the background. But that trended to 14,000 tweets. Hashtag Borg Life. Hashtag Release the Snyder Cut also trended over 15,000 tweets. So a pretty successful day. I thought that was worked really well. There were a couple articles about it trending and about fans thanking. And we even, some of Ascendant Agent, I think, and Ohio Davey had pointed out that Ray Fisher was on Twitch, went over there on Twitch, and I think Krypton Cage mentioned to him that we were doing this today, and he said he was going to maybe have a few words for us at the end of the day, in which he did. He actually did. He came on Twitter, and he said, "Thank you to everyone that shared their love and support for me and all things Cyborg today, regardless of where the road takes us. I'm proud to be on the journey with you, hashtag Borg Life, and we are proud to be with you as well. I truly hope that when Zack Snyder's Justice League does come out, that it will kind of, it's a catalyst so that the studio and whoever's listening to this, HBO Max, whoever is going to be saying that, hey, there's a market for this guy. People loved him in Zack Snyder Justice League. Let's see how we can expand on this character and give Ray Fisher what he deserves, his own Cyborg film." And graciously, he even retweeted Soham that I said designed that hashtag Borg Life We Love RF. Said that was amazing. So that's pretty awesome and cool. So I think that's about it. Okay, so that's awesome. I'm glad it trended. I'm glad it got a lot of response. I'm glad that Ray received all that love and seen all the tweets and everything like that. I'm glad that Zack Snyder kind of came out as well to show his love as well and appreciation. I hope, like I said, I hope that when Zack Snyder's Justice League come out, I hope that, and seeing the heart of the movie, that the studio, HBO Max, and whoever can get this up and running, will realize that Ray Fisher deserves his own movie, just like every single other Justice League member in the Justice League. They deserve their own solo film, and so I hope that this will reinvigorate, be the catalyst, so other people get so excited and like, I want to see Ray Fisher as Cyborg. I want more of that. Could you give me more of that? The studio, and the studio will say, let's do it. Cyborg solo film. Why not? All right, guys. Well, thank you so much for subscribing. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you next time. Bye.